Hey there, and welcome to the Flourish and Health podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I'm so glad that you are here. It's hard to believe that we are almost at the end, or we're in the mid-November, right? It's just zooming by. I noticed when my husband and I ran errands the other night that it was so busy out already. Like, we're in the middle of November, and people were everywhere. Now, I'm not typically out on a Friday evening, early evening, doing a little bit of shopping, but there were so many people on the roads and in the stores. My goodness. And Christmas is everywhere, right? It's hard to believe that I was talking with my daughter today and thinking, how is it possible that we are nearly a month away from Christmas and I feel like we just had summer? So this is the common theme for me the entire year is, where has this year gone? But regardless, I am trying to embrace everything that I can in each part, each season, and taking on November as best as I can as we move into another full year ahead of us. And so over the last couple of weeks, we've been talking through a series, just helping to get ourselves maybe oriented and ready and prepared for the year ahead, looking at some ways that we can reflect and look at some goals that we want to reach, looking at celebrating those wins that we've gone before us, and looking how we can bring the Lord into our planning and helping us really focus on the values that we have as we look to what we want to create in the future. So if you've missed those last couple episodes, please do that. I'll put those in the show notes. You want to go back and listen. You don't have to listen to those before this one, but it will definitely help you as you look forward to what you want to create for the next year. So I hope that today we're going to kind of jump in a little bit more, maybe a little bit more about rhythms and routines to help you start implementing those things. We're not going to go deep into goal setting this year. I think I've talked quite a bit about that, and I know I've talked about some of that last year. And so if you go back, if you look at all the different episodes that I've shared, there's definitely ones that really talk about goal setting. And I believe it was last November that I did a bigger series on setting those goals. So make sure to go back and look at that. And I'll try to put some of the most popular ones in my show notes, but I probably will miss some. So look through, and definitely you can kind of binge on some of those, and hopefully you'll find all the things you need to set those goals. But I know that a lot of times we put so much pressure on ourselves to do all the things. And so I'm hoping today, as we look a little bit more of structure and habit building, we're going to be able to create the things that you want for your life and not be so worried about the structure scariness that some of you may feel. So some of you love structure, like we get into September and the kids are back in school and everything's in a rhythm and you're like, oh, I thrive on this. And others of you want to run away from structure. You're like, no, I feel too boxed in. And I understand that to a point, because I am definitely somebody that is better at structure, but sometimes I don't want that structure. So I get it. I kind of understand, and being afraid. I don't want to be rigid. And I'm not talking about being rigid, but actually as we implement these habits and routines, we make it part of our daily life, just like brushing our teeth every day, right? It's part of it. It's not hard. We just brush our teeth. We just do it. We don't think about it. And so I want you to learn how to make habits to create those routines in your life, so that doing the things that are bringing you closer to your goals are things that, just like brushing your teeth, that you can be simple. And so that's why I talk so much about this, because I do see the change that can happen when you implement structure into your life. So don't be afraid of the word structure or habits or routines, because today we'll talk about how you can start implementing those, and maybe you can still have a little bit of spontaneity into your life, but have those goals that are going to be able to bring you toward the habits, to bring you towards those goals that you want to create. Sound good? Hi, and welcome to the Flourish and Health podcast. My name is Stephanie Book, and I am so glad you are here. My hope is to help others see their life beyond where they currently are right now, move away from places where they feel stuck, and empower them to move into a flourishing life. Together, we will learn to recognize our true identity in Christ and apply a reframed mindset to combat the lies that we've been believing about ourselves. We will walk the journey of flourishing in our health, in mind, body, and our connection with God. I'm so excited to walk this journey with you as we create new habits of thinking and turn toward a life that is flourishing. Hey friends, before we get into any further in the episode, I want to make sure that I'm inviting you to an opportunity to speak with me about the goals that you want to create in your life. As a wellness coach, I focus highly on helping people with overall wellness, the mindset, the body, and the finances. So please let me know, if you'd like to chat with me, if you'd like to have an opportunity to see if what I coach is right for you. I don't ever want to pressure anybody into that. But if you are like me, like I was so many years ago, I know that I needed help. I was confused and I didn't know which way to turn. And so stepping in and calling on my now coach was one of the best things I ever did. So I want to make sure that that opportunity is always open to you. So please put chat in the comments or, message me, email me, connect with me on Instagram at steph.book and let me know. Say, hey, chat. Hey, I'd love to be able to have an opportunity to speak with you one-on-one, or we can chat a little bit to see if it's the right thing for us to do to chat on the phone. Regardless, I would love to be able to offer that opportunity for you because my biggest hope for you is to live that full and flourishing life and understand how you can create those habits to do so. Okay? Well, let's jump back into the episode. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been walking through preparing ourselves for the new year. So today we're going to talk about creating those habits for our goals, learning how to begin to implement them and tracking our progress and, to create that life that we want, that you say that you want to do. But sometimes we get a little bit lost of how do we even get there, or that it seems so big that we don't even know if we're going to be able to achieve it. And so we want to learn how to break them down and learn how to create what we want. So we're going to first talk about figuring out what the right habits are for your vision, for what you're looking for. How do we establish what's essential? We want to identify the habits that will best support our goals. These habits should be rooted in your core values, like we talked about last week, and the direction God has for us, and we can for sure see that in episode 75 last week, where we talked about all of those. And there was a free list of core values that you can download, and that might give you some ideas or some ways to jump off of that so you can maybe identify the values that are important to you. And so you definitely can go back to episode 75 and check all that out. Matthew 6:33 says, "Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you." Ask yourself, talk to the Lord, like what habits, when consistently practiced, will make the biggest impact on my spiritual life, my personal life, my personal growth. Look at the areas you want to create and see what might be missing in your routine. Do you have a routine at all? What areas do you think needs the most change? We've talked about that before, but we want to choose all those things at once. But if we do everything at once, we can become burned out quickly. Burned out? I think burned out. We want to identify the areas that we're going to make the most impact in our growth that can help us narrow the focus and, see results better. Aristotle says, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit." Excellence is not an act, but a habit. I love that. We're not looking for excellence in that perfection mode. And I think we're looking at, you're looking for excellence as you continue to grow, as you build those habits, as you work towards what you want to create, not whether you get it perfect or not, right? So that action is so important. And one way we can do that is by building those small habits. So if your goal is spiritual growth, maybe identify what areas of spiritual growth you want to focus on. Is it anything like adding a specific time in the day? Do you want to do a specific Bible study? Are you wanting to memorize some scripture? What are the essential habits that lead you to what you want to create? Because I think sometimes we say, we want to work on our spiritual growth. Well, great. But what does that mean? We want to identify what that means. How does that move you forward? What is the goal of spiritual growth, right? So maybe it is just memorizing. Maybe you want to memorize a verse a week or a month. Maybe you want to say, hey, I want to pray and add more prayer to my life. So what does that mean? How do you do that? Maybe say, hey, I want to pray 5 minutes a day. And I'm going to do that at, between 8 and 10 a.m. I don't know. We want to really be specific on the goals that we're creating so that, like we talked about before, how we want them to be SMART goals. So maybe for a health-related goal, you may want to focus on some healthy eating routines or proper hydration or some sort of planned physical activity. I don't want to overuse this, but we want to look at the things that we want to create and then start breaking down specifics of what we can do to create them. And we talked some about that when we're talking about specifics, but I want you now to be in action. I want you to look for those goals, look for the things that you want to create in your life, and then look at the small habits that you can begin to implement into your routine that you can move toward that goal. So we've kind of talked about what kind of goals we want to create in the past, but now we want to actually implement them. We want to take action and pick a goal. Once we have ideas of where we want to specifically grow, then we can create those consistent, sustainable habits. I cannot stress enough that, and I've talked about this a ton, but make sure we start small habits, and it takes time. But those small actions will lead to big results, right? Like if you're building a wall, you just don't put one brick up and then the whole wall is up, right? That does not how a wall is built. That's not how habits are built. One brick by brick, step by step. We don't train for a marathon. We do one run and we're ready to go. No, it takes a long time. Actionable steps, taking a little step at a time and getting to that goal and then building to the next and to the next and to the next until eventually you're able to run that marathon or build that wall or move towards your spiritual growth more. I know for me, when I wanted to start implementing more water, and I might have talked about this in previous episodes, but I knew it was important for me, but I didn't like water. I didn't want to drink water. I thought it tasted gross. I don't know. Water doesn't really necessarily have a flavor. I do think water does have a flavor depending on where it comes from, but water is essential for our bodies. I knew it was important, but I just didn't want it. I loved my Coke Zero, and I thought that and some coffee and tea or lemonade, like all those things, the things with a flavor, that's what I wanted. But I knew that I needed to drink some more water. I knew it was important for me. And this is way before I even began my health journey. But I knew that I needed to drink more water. So I started to learn how to implement some habits. And I decided to set a goal for myself. And I said, okay, I would tell myself I would have 2 glasses of water before I had any soda for the day. And once I had those two glasses of water, I was like, okay, I can go over to McDonald's and get that Coke Zero. And that was reward. But then I thought, okay, I got 2 down. Now I can move it to 3. And so I continued to do that. And so eventually, believe it or not, I stopped drinking soda at all. And I was just drinking water, and it felt good. I was craving water, which I never thought I would do. But it was those little habits. I think that if I would have went right from drinking soda all the time and then right into just drinking water and cutting it off, I don't know how well that would have worked out for me. Now, some people, they can do it cold turkey, but I think when we really want to create those habits, I think it's so much easier if we do that step by step. Now, some things you might need to stop cold turkey, but in this instance, maybe there's different things that you can implement in your life and bring those habits in slowly over time, because I think that they're more sustainable. They help you when you bring them in small bites and continue to add up on them. And so I'll have some soda once in a while. I do enjoy a Coke Zero once in a while, but it's not something I have to have every single day. And I don't have to give myself a goal to drink water anymore in order to have that soda, because I've created those habits. And now the first thing I want when I wake up is water. So as we begin with small, manageable steps rather than the overwhelming goals, it helps us see the progress, and we're not feeling like we're missing the mark. Because I think if we look at the big goal and we're not seeing results because we go for the big goal but not in small steps, then we feel like we're a failure, and a lot of us just give up. But building habits, it takes time. Small actions are more sustainable as we grow them. So when I was building that habit of water, I also want to remind you that I didn't do everything perfectly. It took me a while to get to that point where I didn't have soda after a certain amount of, sometimes there were days where I caved, right? And I had that soda before. It took some time to build that habit, but I didn't give up. I continued each day. I'm like, okay, let's try it again. Or guess what? Next thing I drink will be some water. And I implemented that back in. Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. That's Zechariah 4:10, right? The small habits, though it might feel insignificant sometimes, it will add up. And all of a sudden you will notice a progress, and you'll be so glad you began. So don't give up small habits. And remember that they're created over time. You're not going to build a habit by doing something, like I said, one time with the brick. You're not going to get a whole wall. or, run that whole marathon with one day of action. So give yourself some grace and know it's going to take a time. Now, there are different rules about that. I've heard where it takes 21 days or 66 days until you have a habit stick. I'm not sure which one is right. I don't know if one is more proven than the other. I didn't do a bunch of research, but what I do know is sustainable habits day to day will move us to what we want to create. And that's what I want, right? We want to have those habits built. Like I said, the more you do them, the more you are likely to have that goal be accomplished, right? So we want to work towards those and build those habits day, and each day you have a choice to make the next choice to build that habit. I love the verse in Proverbs 21. It says, "The plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty." Next, I wanted to touch on the idea of preparing for the unknown and obstacles that might come our way. When you're implementing new habits, it's going to happen. My friends, we want to take time to prepare for obstacles and understand that there could be challenges that come our way that might derail our habits. Maybe a busy schedule, or maybe a lack of motivation, discouragement, or just day-to-day life may just throw something at you and it just doesn't happen. That's okay. Like, my friends, we're not looking for perfection. In my health coaching program, one of our leadership principles is we seek growth, we embrace obstacles as a way. And I have always loved this principle, as it's been one that I have implemented in my life since I became a health coach. This is a good reminder that there will be difficult things that come at me that are seeking my attention or moving me away from what goals I want. But I get to look at this as an opportunity for growth, take those missteps or those decisions maybe that I made that moved me off the goal or the obstacle that came in my way, and I get to take them and face them with a different way. Look for the opportunities for growth. The obstacle brings us to growth. Like, we hear that so much now about how our failures is what teaches us, what helps us learn. I love it when you see the quote about the baby, like a baby that's learning to walk doesn't fall down a few times and say, forget it, I'm not going to walk, it's just too hard. No, they keep going. They want to keep moving towards the goal that they want. And so we get to embrace those obstacles. They learn, when I do my foot this way, I fall, or, I need to make sure I steady myself a little bit more before I take a next step. Like, we need to make sure that we give ourselves some grace and know that it's going to take time and it's okay. We face all different kinds of things at us, whether we're working towards a health goal or a spiritual goal, there will be times when things come at us and we're not sure how to take it. But we can learn from that situation and look for it as that time of growth. We get to step right back into our action. We won't do things perfectly, but it's okay because we're creating habits. And we know that it takes a while to build a habit, like we talked about. I don't even know how many days it takes to build a goal, but don't expect it just to be smooth sailing. There are going to be times where you might get missteps. You might have some times where you don't reach the goal or reach that habit. You're building habits, so it's going to take a while. But eventually, it's going to be like you're brushing your teeth. It's just going to happen, and you're not even going to think about it because you've put that conscious effort to do it. And I think I keep talking about this perfection idea, but I think it's true. I think when we set a goal for ourselves, we really feel like we need to be perfect. And that's, if anything, I have learned is taking perfection out of the equation. It has been so much more freeing. I mean, I want to create good goals for myself. I want to move towards the things that I want. And there is a line between excuses and perfectionism, because sometimes I think we can move too far and be like, I don't need to be perfect, and so I'll just make these choices. We want to still be aligned with the things that we want to create in our life and not use excuses to stop us. But I also want us to embrace the things that might come at us, maybe those missteps that we make along the way, that it doesn't mean we're a failure, that we have to stop completely. We can still go, we can still move towards those goals. It just might take us a little bit to get there. There's been so many different times in my life where I have found that I've just been off a little bit with my goals, whether something has happened where I was out shopping and I didn't bring the right amount of fuelings, the food that I eat in my program, and then I'm over hungry, and so then I buy something at the store, which is okay, maybe not the best, and then I eat a ton more of it because I was so hungry and I let myself go overeating. Or maybe there was just a stressful day and, I caved and I went into the drive-thru and got something or got my Coke Zero or whatever, like there are times where we make mistakes. Our emotions can play a part of it. And sometimes in my program, we talk about stop, challenge, and choose. And sometimes I stop and I don't challenge long enough. And then I choose something that doesn't maybe serve me the best, but I don't let that derail me anymore. I'm like, okay, I made this choice. What can I learn from it? How do I grow from this? And then I get to move on. So I think that it's important for us to understand that we're not looking for perfection and obstacles will come, but we get to have the choice of how we want to move forward, because we can say, forget it. I missed it again. I'm just going to start again tomorrow. And then start again tomorrow. And like tomorrow never comes because there's always something that will come at us. My friends, if there's a time where you misstep out of your goals, guess what? The next opportunity you have to do that goal, you get that habit, just do it then. With our health program, we tell clients, if you missed a fueling, it's okay. You missed a time to eat, or you made a choice to eat something that wasn't in your goal. Guess what? 2 hours later, drink some water. Have a fueling, step right back on plan, because you're building habits and there's not perfection in them. We get to celebrate what we're doing and move towards it. Those obstacles will push us forward. Success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. Robert Collier said that. One of the things I love about my coaching program is that we have a community and a coach to help us along the way. We're not meant to do things alone. I have my coach I can always call on, or my support team. And if I tend to get off my habits a little bit, I have a community and that provides support for me and encouragement along the way. Maybe having an accountability partner or communities that surround you as you're stepping into your goals will be helpful. Who is someone that you could call out to ask if maybe they would want to partner with you in your goals? We've talked about this some too, but community is important. Having a coach or someone that's walking alongside of you, a friend that can say, hey, let's help keep me accountable for the goals that I have. We're not meant to do these things alone. And I think as you implement these different areas, making sure we're giving ourselves grace, doing small habits at a time, seeking the Lord as we step into that, knowing the things that we're choosing are aligning our values. All of these things we've been talking about the last few weeks, we can move slowly towards what we want to create as we slowly implement these different areas in our lives. Proverbs 27:17 says, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. So reach out for the help. Ask that community. Ask in your community, ask in your friend group, whoever it is, a coworker, maybe that, hey, I really have a goal that I want to walk 10 minutes a day at lunch. Do you want to do that with me? It could be as simple as something like that. And I'm implementing habits. And so having that accountability is a great way to do that. One great way is to keep track of your success. And we've talked about this reviewing and all these things. See, it's all connected, my friends. We'll be able to see where those holes are, maybe where our missteps are happening, maybe during the day, or what is it that we want to track so that we know those habits are being built. So one of those ways we can do that is having like a habit tracker, a way that we can track the things that we are doing throughout our day. When I did 75 hard, I had a tracker that I would follow through that would help me make sure that I did all of the different implements every single day. And so I think it's important to have ways for us to see on paper or in front of us or on a chart or on our phone or however it is that you want to do it, to be able to see this is the days that I did it. And then you'll be able to also look and review and be like, okay, I did great. And then Friday, Saturday, I fell way off. Okay, well, what happened? And then we can review that and reset and see what could I do differently those days coming forward. So I have a tracker that I put together for a couple of friends, coach friends actually of mine, that we were wanting to implement goals, but maybe not be as stringent as a 75 hard. If you don't know about that, you can look it up. It's just a challenge and it's pretty intense. And I think I've even talked about a chance I've gone through that almost 2 times. And I have a big story about how that happened, but that's for a different day, how I walked through that. But I thought, well, maybe I could put a tracker together for us. And so I made a 30, I think I call it 30x habit tracker. So it's not quite 75 hard. It's not quite the same. It's still a little bit more, and I can even implement it differently. But anyways, if you're on YouTube, you can see this little tracker. So if you would like this little tracker for yourself, I will write tracker in the comments or message me at steph.book and I will get you that free resource. A few other resources or books that you can read. The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg is, or Duhigg, I think that's how you say it. It gives you a ton of insight on maybe the science of habits. So if you're someone that really wants to understand why habits work and all the sciencey stuff, as well as how to implement them, that would be a great book for you. I've already talked about Atomic Habits, but again, that's a great book for you to step into, to learn those small measurable habits like we've talked about, building one habit upon the other. It's a great book. And the Habits of Health book by Dr. Wayne Scott Andersen. He is a co-founder of the program that I am a coach for. And that book has been amazing. And he takes not just the body of habits, but your mindset habits as well. And so I'll put the link in the comments for all of those. And again, if you want to speak with me at all, if you have questions about the health program that I am part of, I would love to chat with you or see if a chat would be appropriate for us, and make sure I get you the link to Dr. A, as we lovingly call him, get to his book as well. So before we go, let's review. First, let's start with one habit that you want to practice with. What is one area you want to see the most change in? Identify a habit that can move you closer to your vision. Maybe pray about it, talk to God about it, and try to stay committed. This could be simple as reading scripture every morning, or setting aside quiet time for reflection, drinking water in the morning before you do anything, or maybe practicing gratitude each night. Then start small and commit to a certain time frame. Focus on one small daily step towards the habit with a specific time frame. What can you implement each day to help you bring you toward that goal? Remember, we want to start small that we can build upon later. So you can do lots more, but if you are new to habits, if you're new to creating things, start with one thing, okay? If you have been doing these habits a long time, then maybe you can do a couple things, but we want to start building those habits, and there's only so much we can focus on at once. So this could be maybe another example. It could be 5 minutes of prayer, creating a gratitude list with 3 things you're grateful for at the end of the day, or maybe a goal like I had, where you drink 2 glasses of water before you're allowed anything else to drink. Write it down, be committed to it, and keep a visible reminder that you want to do it, whether you use the little tracker that I have or you make your own. Use a journal or the habit tracker and record each day's success. Celebrate the small wins, and to help keep you motivated, thank the Lord for helping you walk through this, and keep your momentum. The tracker like this, whether it's in your journal, maybe you just have you have a paper calendar, or I don't know, I use my iPad and I have an electronic planner, but maybe you have a paper calendar, or you could just print out a calendar and put a star each day that you drink your water in the morning. I don't care what it is, but track it and then celebrate it. At the end of each week, you can look and review and be like, okay, this is what I did this week, and celebrate the wins that you have and look at the growth that you've made. Don't look at the things you didn't get, but look at the ways that you improved through the week. Find accountability. You reach out to a friend, a family member, a church group, maybe, and let them know what your goal is, and then ask for support, encouragement, or even ask, hey, would you call me at this time of the week to make sure that I did it? And then reset and recommit each week. I think we don't want to put too far of a time frame in front of us. So especially as we're building new habits. So make the time frame maybe shorter, and then reevaluate. Look at it. Was I able to work towards that goal? Was I, maybe you said you wanted to read 10 minutes a day, but you never read it all. So you were like, oh, I got reading in 3 times this week and it was for 5 minutes. Well, maybe then you're like, okay, I want to make sure that I'm reading 2 minutes a day instead of 10, right? Look at that and you can adjust it. It doesn't have to be perfect. We want to look to create those habits so that it's part of you, like brushing your teeth. Now breathe. My friends, I know some of this might be review for you and some of it might be overwhelming, but just remind yourselves that just to take it small. Sometimes, we'll set way too big of goals, we get overwhelmed and burned out. I don't want that for you. I want you to see that this is possible for you, for anyone, if we just take those small baby steps and move towards the things we want to create. Don't look for perfection, but just look towards what you can do each day to implement the habits that you can create the life that you want. I want you to live a full and flourishing life. And the best way we can do that is if we work towards the things that we want to create. We stop saying we want to do it, we'd like to do it, or plan about it, and just take some action. And I know over time you'll be able to create the life that you want. Let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith. Hebrews 12, 1-2. My friends, I thank you so much for listening today, and I do ask that you would please pass this on to anyone that you think it might encourage. And I would love, love, love for you to take a screenshot of this episode, either on YouTube, or if you're listening to it on your favorite podcast app, and tag me on Instagram at steph.book. I would love to see you just share that with other people in that way, and that would help them be able to hear what I have to share with them. And it would just greatly encourage me to know that you're listening and that it's been helpful to you. I appreciate you listening, and I do hope that you understand that you are capable and worthy of living a full and flourishing life. Take care. Thank you so much for joining me as we walk towards this life of flourishing. I appreciate you taking the time to listen, and would love, love, love for you to take a moment to subscribe to my podcast and maybe even leave a review. Likes and reviews like yours will allow my podcast to be seen by others and hopefully help them as they walk through their own journey of growth. So until next time, please remember that you are amazing, my friend, and you are meant to live a life full and flourishing. Take care.